Hello and welcome to Mindset Kitchen. My name is Diana Paliokaite and I have a wonderful guest with me today, all the way from New Zealand, Andrew Eggelton. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, nice to be here
Pleasure
on
to have you over.
the other side of the world.
Exactly, all the way here. So Andrew has over 28 years experience of public speaking and TV presenting. Andrew is a sought master what authenticity truly means and how to achieve it. It's a very little introduction, as I always try to maintain minimum because I want the guest to share the story and all these years of experience. Please tell me a little bit more about yourself, Andrew.
All these years of experience, that makes me sound really old, doesn't it?
That wasn't my intention.
It's 30 years. I started in 1994 and I got into modeling nice and early. A girlfriend kind of initiated that for me. And I just remember the first day that I really didn't work and I got paid, I don't know, like $150 for a couple of hours, which was a lot for a 20-year-old. And I thought, this is magic. I just got paid to stand there and smile and it was amazing. So I was hooked. And then I went from there into acting. I started acting classes and I had to upgrade my voice and how that sounded and my delivery. And things moved really fast. I started working on a program called Young Hercules with Ryan Gosling. I got a place with Michael J. Fox in a movie called, I think it was Frighteners, I believe. And that was shot by Peter Jackson, one of his earlier films. And things just moved. But in those earlier years, what stood out for me, if I look in hindsight, is that I was getting the jobs, but I didn't yet have the talent. So my skills were left. I was having to tread water on those jobs, and working with someone like Ryan would reflect back to you how inadequate you were. So I practiced a lot. And I preach this a lot, as you know. I preparation and practice. I got by in acting, but what I loved most was TV presenting. And I loved it. I was obsessed by it. It didn't come naturally, and I had many car crashes on sets and auditions. And what I discovered, the thread that I loved the most in presenting was authenticity. Like, what did it mean? Because directors would always say to you on set, just be you, Andrew, like just be you. And of course, I don't know what that means. I still don't know what that means. Because you're different shades of you all the time. You wake up in the morning and it's like, okay, there's this part today. I'm tired, I'm melancholic, I'm a little bit bitchy, I'm a little bit, it just depends on how you wake up or how you slept. So authenticity was my thing. And then that grew into public speaking. And then in the public speaking, once I got used to that and comfortable, it was, well, what kind of experience do I want to have with my audience? And if I'm good enough and I prepare and I practice and I design how this looks and feels, that when I go on stage with people and the audience is like, what is the experience I have with them? So that's where I am now. It's a 30-year journey and compacted into just a couple of minutes there. So I work with public speakers. I train CEOs and celebrities and sports people in how to deliver what they're delivering. As I've just come over here to London to run an event, which is fantastic. I have lots of connections over here and family. I love it here. And I've had a bit of a dream. I feel like I've had a bit of a dream career. All from that one day, that first paycheck, and going, I didn't really have to work for that.
Andrew, so thank you for sharing this. And I just wanted to ask, what kind of you bringing today?
What kind of I'm bringing slightly tired, Andrew. I've had a wonderful week. I've been looking after my son, as you know, and your parents as well. You know that comes with a little bit of tiredness, and he's a lively little boy. I've met some amazing people this week. I've been out and networking and enjoying myself, and I've been really looking forward to what you're cooking, especially when we start with oysters. Do you do this for every guest, or is this?
No. But so Andrew actually told me that he likes seafood, and I love seafood. It's one of my favorite foods. I love meat, I love seafood, but if someone says I love seafood with
Oh, is that what I wrote?
in the word,
Okay.
I get it as a really, high message that this is exactly what Andrew would like to eat. So that's why I thought, you know what, I'm ordering loads of seafood from my favorite fishmonger in London, and they have lovely oysters. And I thought, you know what, chuck those on the side as well.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. It's the best start. A little bit of white wine, some oysters. Do you know? You didn't look on my social media because there's a news article. I went home to New Zealand for Christmas. I live in Australia at the moment, and I was going through some old boxes of mums, and there was a newspaper article that had a photo of me. I won this TV show in 2001. It was Cleo Bachelor of the Year. So I was crowned New Zealand's sexiest bachelor of 2001. And they did an interview of me in a newspaper called, it was either the New Zealand Herald or the Press. And I was explaining that they were like, what do you like eating? And I'm like, I love wine, I love oysters. And of course that became the headline. Andrew's a wine and oysters kind of guy. And it was a little bit cheesy, but I posted that on social media at the beginning of the year. And I was wondering, looking at these, if you
did not see that.
Gone through it.
No, it's purely my intuition.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Nailed it.
Thank you so much. And you are served with Spanish white wine, because today I am cooking. There's not even a name for it really, but it's a seafood skillet. So it will involve mussels, prawns, scallops, cod, and it's all going to be cooked in this lovely broth with fish stock. I have white wine, I have tomatoes, freshly grated today, and I can't wait to be cooking because so much onion and garlic smell is coming up at me. And I will also serve, I have some bread there with toasted baguette at the end. So hopefully you like it, because there is one thing I told you already just prior to filming. I've never done this recipe before, but I'm kind of a chef who just makes stuff up. And I thought, this is one of those challenges, because my partner did not want to eat this meal with me yesterday. Usually I practice the day before. And I didn't want to make a big meal and just eat this for days. So I thought I'll cook it together with Andrew today. And I have full confidence it's going to taste absolutely delicious.
He's lost my game. Perfect. And I like that you're doing this like it's like a cold cook. And I get to watch and see what happens.
See what happens. Nothing wrong will happen. No mistakes.
Okay.
Everything will go smoothly. So how about we crack on your first message, because oh wow, I have a beautiful list here, and I was really excited because at the end of the day, you are not the first guest, not the 10th guest. I've spoken to many guests here now, and I'm always getting surprised. People not coming up with the same messages still. They all have their own experience, their own life to bring these messages out. So I'm really excited to be diving in and just kind of unraveling what's behind these messages.
Perfect, because I can't remember what I wrote. So this is a nice surprise reminder for me as well.
It means we'll just be testing it out, whether it's your message or you just copied from someone.
Okay. If it's bone deep or, all right, well, yeah, okay, far away.
Always be ready for when the opportunity presents itself. Often when the opportunity arises, it's too late to learn, practice, and prepare. Be ready and seize it, because most won't.
That's definitely me. Definitely me. That's
Tell
some
me
of
more
my
about it.
That's some of my learnings from my own journey, and something that I witness in so many people and clients along the way. And people, do you want me to elaborate
Please.
on this? Okay. From my experience, it was getting auditions for American films, American TV series, and my American accent wasn't ready. And so I would start learning my American accent, when I got the audition, which was normally 2-3 days away. So my American accent never really improved or got better. And what I see I call it ring fit. You got to be ring fit. So if you're a boxer, you're ready for the next fight. If you're an actor, you're ready for the next audition. Now that I moved to Australia, I'm getting TV series auditions, and most of the time it's an Australian accent, but I'm learning an Australian and American accent now. I'm not waiting for the audition. So most people or clients come to me when they've got a gig coming up, and for me, in my heart, I know it's too late for them because it's a crash course. And for craft, it has to be bone deep. You want to have your personality shining. When you're on stage, you don't want to be thinking about what you're doing. You want to be expressing and sharing and connected to your audience. And if you're thinking about where to stand, what am I doing with my hands, what am I saying now, what are my points, am I leaving enough pauses, how's my voice, you're all up in your head, and you're not grounded, and you can't work from the heart brain. It just doesn't work. You've got to be ready to hit the ball out of the park, because opportunities always come. They do, to everybody.
And I guess if you're not ready and you are doing things like on the spot, you're actually wasting opportunity and wasting time, because you probably, from your own experience, you'll be trying, and then later on you will look back and say, oh, I wish I was ready, or I wish I've done this, because I would probably be in this role or would be in this film.
Yeah.
But because I wasn't ready and I was taking kind of opportunity and learning to be in it at that time, and it wasn't right.
You burn bridges. So if someone hires you to speak, we'll just use speaking because it's relevant to why I'm here. But if when you get opportunities and someone goes, can you share your message on my stage, and it's next week or 2 weeks, whatever, and you're telling people you're a speaker, and then you have to do a crash course on how to speak, you're going to not just blow the opportunity, but you've missed it and you've disappointed somebody. Because when you get hired by somebody, your job is to make them look good for hiring you. Like, that's the bottom line of your job.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, it means that you're using their platform to learn and crash until you learn the lesson that it doesn't quite work like that. I think I said to you when we met at an event was, I remember Lord of the Rings audition. This is when I was really still young, like 1997. Lord of the Rings came out in 1998, I think. I was filming then. And I got an audition from my agent, and she said, oh, it's a New Zealand film. And I was so blasé. I hadn't learnt my lesson by then, that you have to be so prepared, because someone else is going to turn up to that audition prepared. And if you're not, they're going to get it over top of you. I still hadn't figured that out.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember turning up to the audition and walking into the room, and this is before you could self-tape at home and send it in. And it was the best actors in New Zealand and Australia, and they were sitting in this room, and my heart sunk. I knew I was about to make a fool of myself, which wasn't the first time. I think it's like the rite of passage. And I walked in, and I started learning my dialogue way too late, because it's up in my head. It's not bone deep. I have to think about what I'm saying. And I turned to an actor beside me and I said, oh, what's the film? And he said, it's Lord of the Rings, and looked at me like I was an idiot, which is fair enough. And I didn't know what Lord of the Rings was. And I said, oh, who's directing it? And he went, Peter Jackson. And at this point, Peter Jackson was really taking off. And I had read about Peter Jackson doing this trilogy, and I just knew it was not going to be my day. And when I walked in, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know that I was an elf. I didn't know that it had a British accent. And there was this panel of Americans in the background, and it was a big room and not just the usual one or two people. And I didn't have the skill. I just didn't have. Under pressure, your lack of skill rises to the surface and you get found out, and that's what happened. But I think I was telling you that I must have been so bad that they keep giving me more takes, and When they said I was an elf, I was trying to pretend that I had big ears and big feet and nimble. And when they said a British accent, you know, I only knew two accents, which was the British gangster accent, and the Queen's. And I was like, well, it can't be the Queen's. So I was doing a gangster accent as an elf. And then they kept giving me more takes. And I think I got like 7 takes, which was kind of a little bit unheard of, unless they were absolutely sure you've got this. And in hindsight, I realized that they were enjoying having a laugh, and I was probably breaking the day up for them. And my naivety meant that I walked out of that audition thinking, God, I might have got this. I think I nailed it. I've done something right. And I rang my agent up for weeks every day. And yes, in hindsight, it was a train wreck. I wasn't prepared. And I don't think I learned to prepare properly until early 2000s. Yeah.
So there's no hint in here whatsoever, because I have not practiced this. Could be a train wreck right there. But Andrew, it's all well and good. Preparation is important, or preparing before you even doing that and taking time. But sometimes there is so much you can prepare, and the only way you're actually going to understand what else needs to be prepared is actually when you're in it. Mm-hmm. So when you were in those situations, you realize what needed to be prepared. Otherwise, you might not have known.
Yeah, you realize what your job is and the different parts of your job, how to do your job to the best of your ability. You learn a lot, obviously, under pressure, because under pressure you see what parts you break first, and then it's like an easy thing to zone in on to improve. But you know, the craft is when you get to a point where you have a bone deep level of craft that under situations, no matter what pressure you're on, you keep rising, and you're able to pull other people up with you. But that takes time.
I completely agree. And it's also knowing that I can take that risk and it will pay off. Just having that confidence somewhere in the way that, you know what, I can do this. I will learn a bit more, but I am ready to the point that I'm actually willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
Rather than worried you taking a risk.
Yep. You feel confident to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, well, I want to try this. Let's see how this works. And you know that you can make mistakes, but then you can make up for those mistakes if you have to go play it safe. Perhaps, do you think?
Perhaps. And we know that you're not in Lord of the Rings, are we?
No.
No, you're not. No. So what have you taken away from that?
I took away from that. Like, if I could go back to my 20-year-old self,
yeah.
You know, when people ask you this question, I would honestly say to my 20-year-old self, all the practice will pay off. Like 100%, how much you put into this now in your 20s, 30s, is going to pay off. Because something that I'm excited about now that I'm a little bit older is I have a mastery in something. And when you have a mastery in something, it means that, one, you don't become irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm working 9 to 5, and when I get into my 70s, you kind of slowly get pushed out. I'm getting better and better and better at what I do, so I can keep working and do the thing that I love. So mastery allows you, and then the other part is that you can train those people that were me at the beginning and pass on those learnings. Not that when I was 20, I would have listened or taken it in. Because when at 20 or to 25, if you had asked me what I wanted or what I needed, I would have said the lead role in a film. Like, just give me a film. I don't know, why has no one seen me yet? I'm a talent. And then the 50-year-old Andrew looks back at that and goes, oh my God, that would have been a train wreck, an absolute train wreck. I wouldn't have been able to handle the pressure, the consistency of the work. I just wouldn't have been able, I didn't have the level of craft to deal with it. I would have been a bomb, and they would have fired me and got somebody else on.
That's a beautiful answer, actually, right on the spot there. And talking about becoming a master and becoming so unique is beautiful, because now you are so wanted because you're so unique and what you're bringing. And I had the pleasure of attending your event and learning. And I was a little bit under pressure of how I say my words, what are my hero words, what are the words that I want to really focus on, or when do I need to take a little bit of pause in what I say. So I was taking it all on board, and I was really looking forward to actually have that experience and incorporate some of the things that I've learned. And notice a lot I've been talking kind and like, saying those words.
Yeah.
Catch me today if I say that, but I'm trying not to use those words today as well. So
Perfect.
thank you so much, Andrew.
The superfluous words, yeah, because people buy certainty, don't they?
Yeah.
They want to buy certainty. So when you're using words that aren't definitive or certain, it's just creating a little bit of
You're not certain.
Yeah.
And actually, it does perhaps do that. Whilst I'm being certain, I'm giving it totally wrong impression of not being certain. So I love that. I've taken that away completely. Whilst you were talking, I've taken scallops, seasoned them, and just pan frying lightly because they just need a little bit of color. So I don't know if you started to smell
they smell good.
I'm just slightly pan frying them so they have a little bit of color, and then I'll start cooking the other elements within there. But is there anything else you want to add on your first message, or we shall move on, because I feel like there are quite a few exciting things to come.
I feel like we could keep progressing forward. Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm taking the scallop sound out, and they'll just be resting here. So people on the podcast audio, you will hear some pan frying noises, and that's being scallops frying. And our second message is, love this, because I'm on the 24th episode now, and surely I can relate to this. Repetition over an extended period of time leads to mastery. Tell me about it.
Wow. Well, the word repetition for me is significant because I studied an acting technique called Meisner. And Meisner, for a large period of time, is really about just repeating. So, and how that looks, and I kid you not, for a long time in classes would be you have black hair, and you'd go, I've got black hair, and I go, you've got black hair, I've got black hair, you've got black hair. So all you're doing is listening and repeating what they've said, so it's nice and simple, but you're replying to how it was said. Okay, so it gets rid of the thinking. Now the other part, so that's why repetition's been so significant, because I studied under a man called Michael Sasente for about 10 years. The other part to repetition is people want to know how you learn dialogue, how you become good at something, and it is literally, you've got to do it until you're sick of it and then do it more. And repetition builds that muscle where you don't have to think about it anymore. It's automatic. So we were talking about some of the tools that I gave you for voice in that event, right? The presenter's experience. And if you want those to be bone deep, you just have to practice those on a daily basis for 5-10 minutes. We've all got 5 minutes somewhere. It's that repetition over and over again that if we're using pause, for example, as one tool, at some stage you'll begin speaking, or like on here or on stage or whatever you're doing, and you'll notice pauses are now just being inserted into the way that you speak. It's become bone deep. It's become this craft. There's no separation of having to turn it on. It's already there. So when you go on stage, or you're doing interviews, or you're doing this mindset kitchen, these tools are happening automatically for you. So now you just get to focus on, what am I doing? And you get, your personality, your character comes to the surface, and everything else is just working for you. Yeah, repetition. And if a client's doing a TEDx or a TED Talk, and I'm their mentor for that, they learn very quickly that repetition. Like I can tell, like sometimes I'm glad I'm not in the same room, I might be on Zoom, because I can tell they want to strangle me or hit me because I've just made them repeat something so often. Yeah.
I've noticed that on the Saturday that at your event that where people, wanting to strangle you.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's a lovely compliment. Yes.
In a good way.
I don't think I'll put that in the testimonial. I've noticed in your events
Yeah.
that people want to strangle you.
Because I know I'm frustrated, I wanted to swear.
Yeah. Because if I can see that they're holding themselves back, and
Yeah.
I can see that they're trying to cover up, and this is authenticity, right? Authenticity is a feeling, and if I'm listening to something and I can feel a bump, that's something they're trying to cover up. And if I have time, I'll try to uncover what that is, and then we can fix it. But in something we don't have so much time, it is, I just need you to do this. And there's that resistance, they don't want to let go. And they go, I am doing it. I'm going, no, you're not. So, but they're paying me, right, to be better. It's like an Olympic swimmer. I was living with a guy last year who was training for the Olympics in backstroke. And I used to talk to him about repetition and feedback. And obviously, if you're an Olympian, you want feedback from your coach. And if you're not getting it, you'll go change coaches. But people can be quite sensitive about feedback. But on an event like that, or in a retreat, or you're paying a mentor or coach, is you want them to push you, identify the weaknesses, and move you through them. And if I let people off the hook, I'm not doing my job. And people are predictably different. Some people need a push. Some people really need a really hard push, and some people need a cuddle, and some people just need to be tricked, meaning you find a way for them to do it, but you've kind of tricked them into doing it, and then they've done it, and they go, "Oh, I just did it, didn't I?" I did that a lot on Saturday as well.
Yeah, you did. You tricked me as well. You started
Oh,
asking me questions about my life, and I was answering, thinking someone is really interested about where I'm coming from and what I'm doing in UK, and then I realized you were just tricking me. Whilst you probably still were interested because those questions were coming from within you, but you were tricking me to be myself, relaxed, my own voice. I'm not trying to put up a voice that is not mine.
Yeah.
And I love that, and it worked quite a lot during the event with many people. And I think the message is quite simple, but the essence of it has such a big meaning, because repetition, we all understand by repeating, you get to become a master. But it's actually not just, okay, I'll do this again. You need to put your heart in it and really tune in with your heart. For example, if you go for an interview, you don't just think, okay, I know everything about this company. No, sit down and literally in front of the mirror, practice, practice, practice. How do you look? How do you sound? Ask someone else to watch you, give you feedback. That's elevating your repetition. It's not just repeating yourself in front of the mirror. I think it's seeking that feedback, as you said, is quite valuable, because you don't realize what other people are hearing. You're not necessarily hearing yourself.
Yeah. The more prepared you are, the byproduct of preparation is confidence, isn't it? And you walk in and you're confident. Yeah, and look, and I think we are just creatures of our own habits, and at the end of the day, our character is just built on all the habits that we have on a daily basis. Most of them from our subconscious. Many people can't handle the repetition because they either have a short attention span, or no one's ever taught them the discipline to keep pushing through, knowing that repetition will build confidence, mastery. It'll get you the job, the career, the life that you want. But you've got to sacrifice. It's not always fun.
No, it's hard work.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And when I think that's something came up to me. If you're preparing for something and repeating, and you say, yeah, it's good, and you're like, I'm ready, but you have not reached that annoying, this uncomfortable state yet, or I'm tired, or I am kind of fed up. I just used kind of
fed up. You're fed up.
Fed up. it means you almost have not repeated that enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it right? Because usually if I repeat myself and I'm sure that's it, I'm done, or when I'm repeating myself and I'm really tired, and then when I'm tired I'm still forcing myself, that's where that growth, that's where that something changes.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, and that's the point where I think predominantly people give up when it's not fun anymore, when it becomes uncomfortable, or they've got another thing that they can do for that short-term satisfaction. It's the people who turn up for themselves when they don't want to. That makes a difference. You don't want to be there. You're tired. You're grumpy. There's something else going on. Someone's going to a party. There's an event, but you choose to do this. So it's being able to do that repetition long after it feeling sexy or fun. It's you just doing it now because you know it pays off. Long-term gain.
Long-term gain, yeah. And that effort pattern definitely pays back. And I know from my own experience, when I really repeated many times over a period of time, I was so confident and I did not need to think of an actual script or what I was going to say. It was just kind of me now, rather than it's a paper that I need to remember what's written on it.
What's something that you've dedicated, you feel like, from memory, what's something that you've dedicated so much repetition to, where you can remember it was like, oh man, I'm really having to force myself to do this?
You asking me a question?
Yeah, I'm asking you a question.
It was actually just something comes up. I've probably done many more, but it was a course at university I've taken. It was a course that you could take on a side, a volunteering part. And I interviewed a lot of people in a space where social mobility is difficult, and with abused people in wheelchairs, for example, where they have carers. It's a very sensitive topic. And all my findings I had to present in front of an audience of various teachers and students. And I practiced it so long, for an entire month, before I even had the material ready, because I wanted to express the feeling of those who have suffered.
Wow.
And it's taken me to a place where I was singing a presentation out, because that's what one person who couldn't talk about the trauma experience, they were asked to sing, and they were able to sing it.
Wow.
And so I practice a lot, because I don't have a singing voice.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that as well. Wow, that must have been quite special. So you really pushed yourself to a point where you had two things going on. One, you wanted to be good yourself and deliver, but you had the responsibility of other people to express it and do it justice. Yeah, good motivators.
Yeah, because I understood from all the research how much pain they've gone through, but my words alone wouldn't carry enough to explain.
Yep.
And I felt like music or voice sung in a different way would touch people's hearts.
Yeah, what a great
I think
idea.
it did.
Yeah. Did it work?
Yes, I've got a best result, so
Perfect.
it worked. So Andrew, whilst we were discussing here, taking me down the memory lane, thank you for that. I was doing a quick little thing here. So I put onions, carrot, celery, garlic, roughly chopped. So, loads of garlic in this.
I like garlic.
You need to have garlic with the seafood, I think. Then I've added some thyme and white wine, the one that you're drinking. I've used some for cooking. And it's just removing the alcohol now. And I will be putting a fish stock shortly. And we got some saffron strands here. Those both will go in. And then I'll leave for the vegetables just to soften up until I start placing all the seafood in there. And that will be pretty much done. And then I'll just toast the bread. And it smells absolutely delicious. And I hope you look forward, as much as I do, look forward to tasting this for the first time.
It smells great.
Do you cook at home, Andrew?
I would use the word cooking loosely for what I do. I'm lucky I live in a very warm climate, Queensland, Australia, which means now our winters 20, 21, 22 degrees.
Yes, of course.
Cold at night, but it's we have a good barbecue culture.
Wow.
Where we are, so I'm very good on the barbecue and getting better. But when it comes to
Noted.
When it comes to doing cooking and multiple ingredients and timings, it's not my strong suit. I make a good stew.
But if you did over repetition and over time and repeating many times, you would become.
Are you just throwing my lesson back at me? Yes, you're right. You're right.
I guess it's a choice, because if you chose to do that, you would, right?
Yep.
Some people just not willing to, and there are so many things that people say you could do it, but I don't want to. It's a choice not to. So, it's absolutely fine. You
Yep.
choose what you.
And it's wild because I love food so much too.
Okay, so in that case, I'm pretty sure you will enjoy this meal, but we have another final message to go through.
Okay.
And the third message is, it's important to lean into challenges, not so far that you are living in stress and fear, but enough that you are dreaming big and redefining your comfort zone constantly. It's almost, I need to break this down. It's deep, and it's almost having two sections in there, and I want to.
Okay, let's do a section A, section B.
Section A. I want to hear what you have to say about it, and then I'll come in.
So the first section A was, what's the question?
I told you, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's important to lead into challenges, not so far that you are living in stress and fear, but enough that you are dreaming big and redefining your comfort zone constantly.
Okay, that was A and B together?
Together, yes. Okay. I read it again.
So A would be challenging yourself and leaning into those, but not too far. I learned early enough in my career that I liked to just go for it. And I didn't really have the tools. There was a sense of blind faith, which perhaps youth is useful for as well. But you can lean too far, and life becomes a little bit too fight and flight, and you can overload yourself. Instead of doing something really well or two things really well, you can stretch yourself too far. And I've experienced that a couple of times in my career. I think the challenge is, I really like throwing myself into something and trusting that I'll learn, and I'll learn fast. And I've become good at identifying weaknesses, going with my strengths and strengthening those, but weaknesses and what to work on, what works, what didn't work. And I've always set myself nice, healthy goals or targets. And I've always challenged myself too when I hear myself being complacent, or my mind playing tricks on me, or that little voice that can get stronger if you give it the attention. I've learned to hear those and then remind myself that why not? Why can't I have that? If other people can have this, why can't I have that? And the beautiful thing about travel, and you would have experienced this as well, I'm sure, is you meet people doing the wildest things, like you. Like, you love cooking, you're speaking, you're doing this, you've created this thing, that Mindset Kitchen. And this is obviously your baby. And there's things that I want to achieve in my career, there's things that I've achieved, there's things that I set my mind to that I didn't achieve, but I either gave up because I could see that my heart wasn't in it. Like acting, right? I moved to LA, and I realized it didn't take me that long, it didn't take me that long in LA to realize that the next step on this, that I wasn't prepared to go through it, the hard times, to get to the good times. I wasn't prepared to live in LA. I didn't want to be in that environment. So that's when I ended up moving more into the speaking. The challenge is you keep finding out things about yourself. It's admirable. I always take my hat off to people who dream and they take the action, they fall on their ass, which is what we do, right?
Yeah.
We do. You must be learning all the time in here, and I'm learning all the time at my events, when I'm speaking, when I'm acting. Is sometimes I fall on my ass, and that's the beauty of a little bit of wisdom or age or experience, is that you realize it's just part of it. And the only people that laugh are the ones who laugh from the couch. No one ever laughs or takes the mickey out of you who is also a big dreamer and is swinging the bat and hitting it out of the park. Like those people don't laugh at you. The only people that poke their finger and laugh at you are the ones that aren't prepared to do it themselves. That's what I tell myself anyway.
I completely agree with that. And also I think leaning into challenges and realizing that ability to sooner, I wish I had known that as well. It puts you up for more challenges and more challenges. Yeah. But the way we look at those challenges is the only way to grow. So if we don't get any challenges, there's something not right. I always say, well, why is this going so smoothly? Not that I'm trying to bring something bad, but am I pushing myself enough?
Yes.
Because this is not challenging.
Yep.
And as soon as it becomes not challenging, then I look for something more. And when you said with Mindset Kitchen, this is another challenge that I set myself out today, is I'm cooking something I've not practiced yet, but it's pushing myself, and also having that kind of confidence to know that I know I can make this. I know I can do this, but it's reaching that certain level of mastery. And I'm not Gordon Ramsay, I always say, or not even Jamie Oliver, who does the bish bash boss stuff, but I am the kind of person who knows that in any situation I will find a way. But when I have to find a way, that's me experiencing that challenge. And then next day I will reflect on it and would have grown on it. So many times I lean onto those challenges, as you say, on your message A, because they are necessary part of your growth. And at the beginning, when Andrew came, I said I read your timeline on the website, and it jumped out to me because I could not imagine you, a person like that, who would sleep in the back of your car in the truck to just do something. And that must have been challenging for you at that time.
I forgot that was on there. Yeah. I had two choices in my. This is around 1998, my early 20s, and yeah, I had two choices. I could pay rent because I wasn't making enough money at this stage. It was like I can pay rent and live on 2-minute noodles, or I can afford acting classes and afford like gym memberships and hang out with my friends and having fun. And I just chose fun, gym, and acting. So it wasn't a 5-door car. I just need to point this out. This is a 1968 Holden Kingswood with just a big flat boot, but it had a lot of room in there. And it was actually quite handy because I would just park it up outside a bar, and then when I'd finished having a few drinks with friends, I'd just walk outside and jump into my car boot, and then I'd shower at the gym, and then I had acting classes, and it paid off.
That's pretty impressive, and it was challenging, as you say.
Yeah, definitely challenging. I think on that timeline, I put my Transylvania experience too. So I've always wanted to write fairy tales, and so I've been fascinated with Count Dracula and Transylvania since I was a child. So I went to Transylvania and I hired a house on top of the hill overlooking Count Dracula's castle in Brunn, Transylvania. And I wrote fairy tales for a good period of time, I think like 5 weeks. And the only thing that drove me out of Romania, and I'm sorry to any Romanians, is the food. I just found the food in that area. It tasted like burnt meat and cucumber and tomato, and I couldn't take any more of it. So I left. It certainly wasn't this. And I know there's better chefs in Romania, but that's what I seem to be coming across.
And it's funny that you remember the food element as well.
And food's big. That's why I keep going back to Greece.
Yeah. So hopefully this will remind you a little bit of Greece, because I think this could be easily a Greek dish as well.
Yep.
The second part of that message was, you're living in this stress and fear, but enough that you are dreaming big and redefining your comfort zone constantly. So dreaming big and redefining your comfort zone constantly.
Yeah. So when you choose, like if I get, are you like this? When I lose myself a little bit and things aren't going my way, what I discover is the pattern that keeps reoccurring for me is that I stopped making decisions. I become indecisive. I don't choose this way or that way. And which means you just go around in circles, repeating the pattern in the lesson until you choose. When you choose, and you try to choose the best one that's going to get you to where you want, if you're dreaming big, when you choose and you start to go down that path, something else always comes up.
Yeah.
That opens a door, you meet somebody or something happens, an opportunity arises from making that decision. And that can lead you down paths that you didn't even expect, that might be going a different route. The how is different than you expected.
Yep.
But it's making that decision, and then you have to keep redefining your comfort zone, because you're like, okay, I'm going to have to do and learn something here that I didn't expect to have to learn.
I can totally relate, and there are so many times where I am feeling a little bit low because nothing is happening, or I am not sure what's meant to be happening.
Yeah.
And then it's probably, you actually probably gave me a realization. It's probably because I'm not making anything happening. It's maybe procrastination or something like that steps in. And as soon as you make a decision and make that first step, something happens. It's always something new happens. And then you realize you have this little breakthrough. It's almost like a light comes in and you're free again and you're doing all the things. And then again, and I think it's very normal for us as humans. We cannot be going full force, always knowing what to do and making decisions quickly. We need to become that. It's almost yin and yang. You need dark and light to work, or you need to have dark to know what light looks like.
Yeah, the contrast,
Yeah. So it's almost like it's essential for us to have the challenges, see the big vision, and be something stuck. It's almost like the doctor prescribed that. You need to be a bit stuck to realize that something is not right.
I hate the feeling of stuck. It's just the worst feeling. And you're right. It's a lack of making a decision. I think I said this in the weekend, is if you want to be a speaker, then hire a coach, take your class, do something, because you made a decision, and then you all of a sudden you're actually doing it. You're not talking about it, you're doing it. And it's amazing how often when you've made the decision, things start to open up and opportunities. You can see that all the time. You know what I mean? It's things start opening up to you as soon as you have set your mind to it, and the energy shifts. It's a release. You're not holding on to things and not indecisive. You remove the resistance.
And being out of comfort zone constantly is that thing that I promised myself this year. So when the January 2024 hit, it wasn't part of my New Year resolution. It was just way of thinking, I am going to be in discomfort or out of my comfort zone pretty much every single month. That was my promise. And if I had few weeks that I've not put myself in that zone, it means I haven't grown. And it's uncomfortable. And it's looking what to do so that you would be uncomfortable. It's also uncomfortable. And sometimes you could get too comfortable. But that's when those big visions come true.
Yep. Do you have a big vision of what?
Everything is
like
big vision in my life.
Yeah.
Everything has to be big, almost unrealistic, but achievable by us humans. So I have loads of big visions for Mindset Kitchen.
Yeah.
And I focus continuously on it, but I know the little small steps that I'm taking and having that big vision, it's so important. But because if I didn't know where this needs to end up, then why would I go into a plane if I don't know where it's going? But also accepting that it might not end up that way.
Yeah.
And it will not end up that way because it meant to end up different way. Whichever way, trusting the process is also important.
Yeah, not getting what's the word I'm looking for? Not getting stuck on the outcome. That'll do. Not getting stuck on the outcome, knowing that it will change shape and form as you progress.
And you will be glad for it, because maybe right now I don't see that outcome myself. So focus on what you can see. That's what I say. But be open-minded if it doesn't end up that way. But when it ends up certain way, you know that you have put everything you could, and it ended up because for that reason of your hard work, out of comfort, having the big vision. Needing trusting the process that it's actually going to end up where it needs to be in the first place. Just you sometimes don't know yet.
You just got to get out of the way sometimes.
Yeah,
get out of your own way.
exactly. So whilst we're going deep here, delving into various visions, I've put scallops back in, and Andrew's smelling it.
I am.
Hope for good. I'm
so
putting
good.
the prawns in now as well. Everything needs really very little cooking with the seafood. What's giving here is, if you do overcook seafood, there is a sauce. If there was no sauce and you overcook, not nice.
You can't
hide
salvage it. Okay.
No, but there is sauce here, if in case. But I'm kind of watching the time. The prawns and scallop needs maybe 3-4 minutes.
Yep.
Then I'll put in cod and mussels. And this morning I cleaned all the mussels, and bad boys keep opening up. So whilst they opened after I received it and they were not open in the ocean, I know these were closed originally. I would normally use them, but for today, because I don't need that many, I'll discard some of the mussels and don't use them.
Yeah, right.
But if you get the bag of mussels and they were open already, they could have been open ages ago, you don't know.
Okay.
If they opened in the fridge, whilst you had them there, they're fresh.
Good
So
tip.
they haven't gone bad. They just opened because of the temperature of the house and so on. Yeah. You had a question.
What's the classic cuisine from where you're from, Lithuania?
It's something you probably would want to escape then, by the sounds of it. Loads of meat, loads of potatoes, loads of cucumbers.
Oh, really? Loads of cucumbers?
Pickled cucumbers.
These are all good things. It's just when you eat them for lunch and dinner,
Yes,
lunch and dinner, lunch and dinner.
consistently.
Yeah. But you said to me in the car, you asked me the question, are you hungry? And I went, I'm always hungry.
Yeah.
I eat all day. And ever since I was a little boy, I've eaten a lot of food. And you said the same thing. You don't skip the food. You love, you're always hungry as well.
I never have been on a diet because simply it would never work for me. I found ways of nourishing myself with lots of delicious food and having some naughty snacks or foods there and there, but my body is so trained to expect the best quality that I can eat it and I don't have to have a break from it because my body is nourished. It feels always alive and thriving from it. So what's the point to stop eating?
I can't think of one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whilst we're still cooking here and it's nearly the end, I wanted to ask something else because you do talk a lot about authenticity. Can you tell a little bit more? What does that look like as a way of being, as a way of feeling? Could you share with the audience here what that means to you?
Yeah, sure. Look, there's the conditioned self versus the authentic self. And as human beings, we're very much conditioned to want or need people to like us. And we're conditioned to how to project ourselves to what we believe the other person wants to see.
Yeah.
Right? So in the presenting world, why I became obsessed with authenticity was, I said this at the beginning, was directors used to say, just be you, Andrew, just be you. But in my 20s, I just had no idea what that really meant because you're going, but I am.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. And if you're saying just be you, well, the thing is I'm quite nervous now in front of this TV crew. So this is just me right now. What I realized was authenticity, and this took me a little while. This took me a couple of years in Bali to figure this out. I took some time out after around about 2011 to 2013. Just be you doesn't really have an answer because there's so many different shades of you. What they're wanting on camera or when you're presenting something is a shade of you, a specific shade of you.
So interesting.
I want this piece of you, Andrew. And most directors, or in fact, no director I've ever experienced, was able to say, I want this Andrew. Okay, I know Andrew well enough that this is the one I want, which tends to be if you're hosting a show, or back then it definitely was shoulders back, smile, bubbly, energetic. Hi, I'm Andrew Eggelton and welcome to United Travel Getaway. So it was like a caricature of myself, because in between takes, you relax and you're going, is that what you wanted? Okay, good. What else can we do? And that's the real me, the relaxed conversational reality. And I said, well, I want to bring that conversational reality and level of authenticity to the stage, because if energy is information, then the information the audience is receiving needs to be clear. Because if they're going to trust someone, they need to see them and feel them and connect to them. And you can't connect to someone through a performance. You can move them and inspire them, but you can't connect to them, because there's a layer or multiple layers of inauthenticity, a performance, right? So how I do that with speakers is I have a methodology, and just the first step is no change of state.
Yeah, I
Like no
remember
change
that.
of state. And that means ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And then you don't judge that feeling to be wrong or right, good or bad or negative or positive to your speaking. It just is. And you begin there. If you're nervous, be nervous. If you're a little bit grumpy, be grumpy. If you're jet lagged, be jet lagged. Don't try and pretend you're not. Otherwise, you're wearing a mask, or you're projecting to the audience, I'm not tired, I'm upbeat, I'm charismatic, but on the inside, you're not. So there's a disparity between your external world and your internal world. So this is why I use horses for training for some presenters. Because the horses reflect back to you without care how you're really being. And so they're a greater teacher of authenticity than I can be, because they have a far greater, I'm just going to use the word radar, they have a far greater sensitive radar than I do. They can smell, they can sense when the internal world and the external world are not the same. You might be putting up a brave face, I'm confident around the horse, I'm relaxed, I'm not a threat, but the horse can feel what's happening in here, and they're
So beautiful.
Yeah, they'll reflect that back to you. So you got to align the two things, internal, external, as fast as you can, and figure it out. And there's such a great equine assisted training is such a good training. If you ever get to do it, it's magical. They're amazing teachers.
I would love to try that, definitely. I've heard of you speaking of it, and yeah, sounds absolutely magical.
Did that answer your question on authenticity?
It did. And what came up to me as well, I sometimes film with migraine. Sometimes I'm really tired. Or let's say if people were going to an interview and they're really tired, they had bad night's sleep, they were stressed, you can't really show up that way.
Yeah.
You can't come and I'm so stressed, I haven't slept. So what's that balance that you need to strike?
Well, the thing is, you never walk out on stage. Like, I'll tell people if I'm tired. It's like, I've just traveled from the other side of the world. I am so jet lagged. I still know how to share my 30 years experience with you. I'm hoping that I share some wisdom today. It might just be a little bit of a train wreck. Stay with me. Yeah. And then, because I've said that, I'm now relaxed. I don't have to pretend that I'm anything that I'm not. Yeah. As soon as I'm relaxed, it becomes fun. That trying to protect myself or be something that's not, and going, I haven't just flown from the other side of the world, I'm not jet lagged. That's a character.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But you never go out on stage and go, actually, you probably just that could. You need to be good. I'm tired. I don't want to be here. I'm not feeling it today. God, I've got 45 minutes just to see how fast this goes. You would never, you know what I mean? You go, I've got a migraine. I'd rather be somewhere else. You don't need to reveal these
all
things.
Of that.
Yeah, and some people won't go, well, that's being authentic. So it's not. That's something unprofessional.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what my question was. How much do you reveal it? Yeah. At what level? Yeah.
You have the baseline is you have a job to do.
Yeah.
And you got to do that job. And my job is to give them these tools, my experience, deliver it in a engaging, compelling, connected way. they're my primaries, right? And make the person who's hired me, if someone's hired me, look really good. But yeah, you don't have to reveal everything that's happening.
And I think by giving just enough so that people have that understanding, but also it leads to connection, I think. Oh yeah, I feel the same. Oh.
Yeah.
So it's, he is just looking like a sparkling, prince here on the stage. He's obviously having a good day, and everyone else we're feeling like crap here. But no, actually, we all human. We all have these days, and it's really hard to be 100% all the time if it ever exists. I'm never 100%. So revealing a little bit of that is connecting to the audience, I think.
Yeah, and look, after 30 years, I still get nervous.
Yeah.
30.
Exactly. I mean, I revealed today as well, I am not prepared with the food. There are certain new apps we're trying with the camera. I told you before. I'm feeling good and excited. The wine has slowed me down a little bit, and I hope my language, my speech was appropriate for Andrew Eggelton's methods.
It's been great. There's been no slurring yet. You've been on point.
And then this, in the meantime, has finished cooking. So I'm just going to show you and then bring to the camera as well.
Oh, la, la.
Everything is in there. So you can see mussels have opened. The cod is cooked. Everything is ready to serve. And I will be doing just that as well in a moment. And Andrew, we discussed a lot. It's a lot. And I feel like the time has run out so quickly. And it just says, because I could be talking a lot, and there were so many questions I wanted to ask about your past as well, and about your colorful career. And thank you for sharing your masteries with us today. It has been a pleasure, and a pleasure to talk about ready for when opportunity strikes, about the repetition, which are all simple but quality aspects in all of us that we could be doing to enhance our careers, our lives.
All so simple. None of this is groundbreaking or revolutionary. It's so simple.
And leading into those challenges, being adventurous, being out of comfort zone, it's leading you to mastery.
Yeah.
And where Andrew is now encompassing your authentic self, talking about and teaching all of us with that. So don't stop doing what you're doing, Andrew. Keep coming back to London.
I will keep coming back. You know, I've got a good why.
Yes. And also, you know where the delicious food is.
Well, I'm actually feeling a little bit sorry for your viewers right now, that they've seen this, they can see my face when I'm smelling how good it is, and now I'm about to eat it.
Exactly. And just towards the end, I've added parsley from my garden and not thyme, oregano. Not oregano even, tarragon escaped me. So there you go.
What other herbs do you have in your garden?
I have rosemary, thyme, chives, spring onions, oregano.
Yep.
Quite a few others, but yeah, I love my garden.
Yeah, that's one thing I miss is a garden.
Well, a garden in your plate today. Thank you so much for being here, Andrew. Thank you everyone for watching, and enjoy your meal.
Thank you very much.